More than 7 years ago, I had a Kundalini awakening and I shared my experiences and what led to that experience in my previous videos. I'm going to leave links in the description box below. And in this video, I'm going to share an aftermath part of it that is extremely significant. And this part can help us understand the very basic fabrics of our reality. And this is the connection to our past lives, which are basically the parallel lives that our conscious mind tries to see it in a way that it would make sense. So basically in this video, I'm going to share my experiences. I'm going to share what AI told me. I talked to Claude, ChatGPT and DeepSeek and made some understanding of the experiences because the experiences were quite extreme. And also it helps me understand, and maybe you as well, what the channeling meant that I had, where I ask reality, how would you explain yourself to me? And it said to me, I am always changing and always the same. So in this video, if you are interested in this, you are going to get the answers. In my opinion, one of the biggest takeaways from a Kundalini awakening or any type of awakening is that you are going to find something that you were not looking for. You are going to find the very thing that you need. And this is where the illusion is that many people go on a journey that can be a self-discovery journey, or maybe they have a goal that they want to have a Kundalini awakening, and they have something in mind that this is what this is going to mean, or this is what's going to happen, and they have a specific thing in mind. But the reality is that, in my opinion, for every single person, it's going to bring something that is very, very personal, something that is very, very individual at that moment. And the wisdom itself is going to be very different from every single person you encounter. This is just my opinion, because this is kinda an order in reality that tries to balance itself, that at certain point in time, all of these probabilities exist, and this is why we are different. And when we get to a certain point of our consciousness evolution, where we have the ability to experience everything and perceive everything exactly at the same time, that's when we are able to see that everyone went through exactly the same thing, exactly the same path. It's just the order and the loop that you stayed in a certain path is going to differ. But eventually, or when we see it from an absolute state, everything is going to be exactly the same, and yet at the same time, it's going to be completely different because the order of it is different. And this is the paradox that we live in. So what can we learn from past lives that are actually simultaneous lives or simultaneous probabilities that exist alongside us? And also, why are we able to feel a past life as if it was happening as of now? And how can it be even simultaneous? I had all of these questions and I asked all types of AI to get the answer. So the very first experience I had, I wanted to understand why I even had the Kundalini awakening. And my Kundalini awakening happened through a twin flame connection where I was really obsessed about a person and I couldn't let that person go, and it was completely an opposite of my previous self that exists in this life, where I was in avoidance. So I could detach from a partner quite easily, and basically the integration was integrating these two different opposite attachment types. This is the very thing that causes it. If you're interested in in it on a deeper level, you can just watch my videos where I explain it step by step. And I did my very first past life regression to get the answer, because I always want to understand the root cause. I want to get answers. I'm an Enneagram 5, that probably explains it. I always want to know the truth. I always want to get answers. I always want to understand what's happening. But before the Kundalini awakening, I was a predominant 6, Enneagram 6. So this is something that also shifted in my understanding or perception of reality. So anyways, I did my very first past life regression to find out if I had a past life with this twin flame person, and that's why the relationship was so intense, and that's why I couldn't let him go. And look, I didn't believe in past lives, so I'm not a spiritual person, although I have these experiences. And this is something that bothers me because it doesn't match my personality. This is just how I see it, that I am a person of science, and yet I have these experiences I can't explain. So of course I have to go to science and try to analyze it from a scientific point of view. Otherwise, I feel I would go insane. It's just too different from who I am. And the past life regression I've done it actually with a YouTube video, and I have never ever done it before. I'm just like, we'll see what happens. I just do anything. I just want answers. And honestly, it went really, really easily for me. It was really, really fast. And the reason for that, now later on I see it, because what truly happened in me, it's the somatic awareness that's connected to the emotional self, or in the attachment system, was very, very active. And that's why I could basically slip into it so easily. And just within a few minutes, I started to see a vision. And the vision was that there were these energetic lines, a masculine and a feminine. It was, I remember, a blue and a red. And I recognized that energy or that person, but not with my mind. Everything happened through my heart. So it's a very, very deep heart or somatic system connection. And it was more like that part of me started to communicate, and my head or my consciousness, this is a head type of consciousness, was more of an observer. And that's basically the key when you do a past life regression, by the way, that you are able to connect to such a deep part of yourself that is hidden from you when you are awake. Because when we are awake, we are in beta and alpha brainwaves, but when we do past life regression, it is low alpha and theta, which are a lot deeper. These are the most dominant. Theta is the most dominant when we are children. So basically, this is a part of you that is not connected to this critical filter. And I remember from such a deep part of me, I had this feeling, and this feeling turned into a deep question and pain. And it just came out of me that I miss you so much. Where are you? And that energy represented a person. So many things came to me, and I have done quite a lot of past life regression sessions on my own, and slowly bits of pieces of that life came to me. But this very first experience kind of blew me away, because consciously I was looking for someone, but I didn't find that someone, but instead I found someone else. And that was actually a husband from my past lives. And from this life and from this experience and from this connection to this energy, I started changing a lot, because it gave me kind of like a step towards, a version of myself or a life, a different life that I lived with this person, and a lot of traumas actually came up that were always in me, but they were not conscious. So basically, these energies came into my consciousness, and as soon as it becomes conscious, this is the only time when anyone has the opportunity to resolve it. But it doesn't mean just because it comes to your conscious mind that it's going to resolve itself straight away. It means that finally you see what happened, and it's not that you have to believe that this is exactly what happened. It's just this is how your mind processes that emotion, and I think it's good enough. We don't have to dig deeper if it's 100% true or not true. It's more like what that emotion tries to tell you. What is that story? And through that story, you can release these emotions. And I'm going to just explain a few things that are quite extraordinary. And after that, I'm going to give you the conclusion that AI or different AIs gave me. So the very first crazy experience with past life regression happened probably within 3 months after my Kundalini awakening. And I didn't know what Kundalini awakening truly caused. It felt more like a psychosis. I started to see a psychologist. Then I even went to see other ones as well, just to kind of check everything, because I don't like when something or someone is biased, and I was afraid that I would be biased as well, just by getting information from one person only. And this was true about past life regression therapies as well, that I tried multiple versions of it and many times to get to better understanding. But the very first time when I went to see a past life regression therapist, that was probably after I've done around 10 past life regressions on my own with YouTube. Basically, I was listening to YouTube past life regression meditation where it's guided. So that's the thing, that it was a guided meditation. And I kept seeing the same life over and over and over. And it was always a little bit of more information about that past life. But I went to see a therapist because the very last past life regression I've done was extremely traumatic. That's when I relived my own death, that I jumped off a bridge because I lost that husband I loved so much, and I couldn't cope with it. And there was this dualistic feeling that was so extreme that I felt so peaceful like never before. Like in that life, I was just so peaceful. But as the observer from this life, as Rita Simon, I had this extreme panic attack. And I remember I opened up my eyes and I kept shouting that, wake up, you are fine, you are safe. But the panic attack lasted for such a long time and I could barely get out of it. So that was a very scary experience, because I do not get panic attacks. I'm not saying I never ever had one, but that's like very rare. Maybe I had one or two before in my whole life. So this was really scary for me. So I decided to see a past life regression therapist to do it properly. And the interesting thing is that this life didn't come up. I've seen another life. And in that life, I carried something forward. So in every single life, we carry something forward that if it's not resolved, it comes back. And you will see, because this is the same thing that keeps repeating, that all of these unresolved loops go to a step that I have to do now, and it's always the same. And in that life, I lived through the French Revolution, the time of enlightenment, when people were starving and the higher class, the elites, didn't help these people. And I was one of them. And this was kind of feeling I felt that I didn't have these people, and it felt like an unfinished business, something that I felt that I had a duty that I was supposed to do, but I didn't do that, and I felt responsible. So for me, it's responsibility and duty and feeling guilty. These are these feelings that keep coming back over and over and over every single freaking life. And it's not just like one thing, there are many, many things, but it's like a deeper vibration or something like that. And I remember we went through my life with the past life regression therapist, and at the end she said, okay, now I want you to see how you died. And I remember I've seen my own body, and she said, okay, let her go. And I said, I don't know why. I can't let her go. And the energy of that version of me, and this is so crazy, I don't know how it happened, probably because my energetic system was so open or something like that. I got entangled with that energy, and I had the craziest 2-3 weeks after that. It felt like having a heart attack for several days, and like extreme anxiety. I could barely calm myself down, and it felt like these two energies would tear me apart or something like that. It was really, really scary. I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing these visions around me, like things were not solid. So basically, I believe that my energetic system became very, very sensitive, and everything started for, or not started, lasted for 2-3 days, and then something new happened. So one of the things was that I was able to sense the aura of trees. So I don't even know there were auras around trees or something like that. It's not something I looked into. And I remember when I touched a tree, it felt like touching a living horse. So it wasn't like a rigid thing. It felt like a living organism. Like, okay, a tree is a living organism, but you know what I mean. And then it switched into these things that I could see the energetic lines in people and also in trees. I could see it in as a fabric of reality, and it was all the same. Everything was exactly the same, and it was this really, really, really light blue. Like I could see it was light blue, but it was like just a step away from bright white. So it was a very interesting color, and also the shape was like that, and it just kept continuing. And there were times when I didn't know when I was asleep and when I was awake. I went nearly crazy during that few days, and when I kind of got to my conscious mind, I remember I wrote it on a paper, this is your reality. And this is how I could distinguish between dream and reality, because the dream was so lifelike, but everything went away. So 2-3 days, after 2-3 days, something new happened, and then eventually within 2-3 weeks the whole thing stopped. So I guess my nervous system was able to stabilize and get out of this state. So this was something that really, really scared me. I'm just like, what the hell? It's not something that you write about or read about, but it didn't take away my curiosity. So I went into more past life regression, but it just became easier and easier, because by the time I started to have an emotion with this husband from my past life. So when I did the past life regression on my own, I was always taken back to him and taken back to the exact same life. And I remember there was this feeling that kept coming back, and it was when I was hugging him. I felt like I want to stay in this moment and no other moment ever. I don't want any more lives. I don't want anything else. I just want to be kind of frozen in that specific second or minute or something like that. And that was such a specific emotion, because I never ever felt that way in this life that I live now. And it was just so weird. How can I feel that emotion that I never experienced before? How is this even possible? And the crazy thing is that this particular emotion became a reality because I was still together with that twin flame connection. I'm no longer with him, but at that time I was with him, and I remember I channeled information about him, and it was his biggest pain. What is the biggest pain he feels? And he feels kind of misunderstood and maybe undervalued or something like that. And I remember I sent this to him via text message that this is what I got. This is your pain, and I'm not really sure if it's true. Doesn't really matter what the message was, but I remember next time when he came over, he hugged me like never before, and I could feel his energy pouring from his heart right into my heart, and it was such an amazing experience, the most amazing experience I ever experienced ever. And the feeling was the same, the exact same thing that I felt in that past life, that I want to stay in this moment and no other moment ever. That's where I want to be. This is how exactly how I want to feel. And the crazy thing is that it became a reality. And as soon as it became a reality, it disappeared. I can never ever recall that memory, even from the past life and even from this life. It's like it's gone. Emotionally, I cannot, only mentally. Mentally, I remember, but my heart can't access it. And that original memory from his husband of from those past lives where I hugged him, and that was right, probably the very first memory that came to me always, that shifted and it changed into something else. And that something else hasn't changed in several years. It's always the same, that we are dancing waltz. And I remember because I was wearing a whitish dress, a white dress, I always believed it was some kind of a ball, maybe a charity event or something. And a few years later, I asked, why do I keep seeing this? It's always the same. What event was that? I felt happy, but it's just this dance and it never seems to stop. And he said to me, this was our wedding. This is what you keep saying, our wedding. And probably the craziest thing is getting other memories about this life, especially this life, because it seems like a huge trauma for me. But a trauma probably for you is going to be something different. And I could always recall the memory by remembering the emotion. So the emotion was recalled in my heart. And I remember this part of here, the third eye, because this is where the third eye is, but it goes inward and you can feel it, it goes inward. And from here on the top, it goes outward. And it connects to something different. Um, it, the heart warms up and I could see things very, very clearly. But it's not like I was going insane that I couldn't make a distinguish or I couldn't distinguish reality from a past life. But it was really, really lifelike, and I could recall memories. And even like I when I was smashing mugs, I could feel the weight of the mug in my hand. And this is exactly why I got puzzled in these, because I see myself as a very, very rational person with an open mind. But this is something that I couldn't explain, and I'm so grateful for AI because it can search so many things that I couldn't do, and it gave me the answer. Why could I feel it so clearly? And why did it feel so real? Why was it like living it now when it's not the now? It's a completely separate life, and why is it even possible? And it said to me that basically these past life emotions that are simultaneous, so it verified that these are simultaneous, what I channel, because this is a channel that these are not past lives, these are simultaneous lives. They are not connected to the mind. It's a different type of consciousness, and the problem is that it's basically chaotic. It cannot make a difference between what is now, what is in the past, what is in the future, where is it coming from, is it even a probability, or what is it? It can only feel. So this is the problem with this type of awareness, that it doesn't have any order in it. And this is where we get to the quantum reality, that nothing is certain. There are just these probability clouds and probabilities. And the conscious mind, this is a different awareness, makes it real, that it chooses what it wants to see. So when we see this energetic awareness or the emotions, however we want to call it, because there is no order in it, that's when we can see that all probabilities exist equally and simultaneously, and it's true all the time. But at the same time, we also have another type of consciousness, that's the mind, that chooses which part of it is able or wants to experience, because of course we have a limitation. We cannot think, okay, I'm ready to see all of it. You can't do that. You have to grow into it. And this is basically the process that we are supposed to go through to increase the awareness, to basically increase how much do we see from this field of probabilities, from this field of us. And this is another thing that we have to understand, that there is always a block that is deep down. And these blocks are basically loops that we are supposed to overcome. It doesn't mean we are supposed to erase, it's that we have to relive it and see it differently. And for me, as I said, duty, responsibility, feeling guilty, this is something that keeps repeating. Even from that life where I lost my husband, I felt responsible for his death because he went to war. And I remember I could recall this feeling, and this caused another Kundalini awakening when I was able to connect all of these emotions and thoughts and everything just connected, that I found that I didn't fight hard enough, or I didn't do enough to make him stay at home, to make him stay, because I saw it in a way that if he stayed, if I tried it harder, he wouldn't have died. So I took responsibility for something that was not my fault. And this is something that I keep reliving. Like, I'm the firstborn child, so I had to be responsible for my two siblings and even my cousins. And this is something that it's like, as you can see, it just repeats. And I have the exact same thing again, because there is this process I am supposed to go through, and it's in the deepest part of the nervous system. These are these delta brain waves, the reptilian level, where again, my duty, I don't even like to use this word, but what I'm supposed to do is that I am supposed to shift into my own opposite, and my own opposite is not responsible. So at the very, very core, this is the problem, that I take too much responsibility. And this is where we can see that when someone is overly responsible, feels over responsible for a lot of things, it can turn into control. And on this reptilian level, I could feel, because I dropped into it, there is responsibility and ownership. So this is something that it's impossible to be, we can't overcome it unless we experience the opposite version of that. When we are not taking responsibility, when we don't feel that we owe a duty of care for someone. So basically, there is a boundary how much responsibility we take for certain things. And this can be really difficult for a person who can't feel a boundary in this process, who thinks like everything is linked to everything. And this is the difficulty in it for me. But this is something that you can also think about, that maybe control is linked to something different in your own life, and experiencing your past lives can give you a glimpse what is that very thing that you keep repeating over and over in every single life, and you can't overcome unless you recognize that it's there. And this is how we can understand how reality can say that I'm always changing and always the same. It's because the energetic probabilities are exactly the same, but when you see the probabilities of how these probabilities connect, these are changing all the time. So this is where the paradox is in it. It's like you can see like numbers, maybe numbers from 1 up to 90, and how many combinations can we make out of it. And this is kind of how reality is, that it's all the same, but the order that's coming from the mind is going to make all of these variations. And this is where we can get this conclusion that just because you don't see something in yourself, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist at all. Maybe in your current life it doesn't exist, but it doesn't mean that in your holistic self it it doesn't exist. It just means that you can't access it. You don't have access to it. Your awareness cannot see it. And the goal is to find those parts, because as soon as you find those parts as well, what you will see is that everyone is the same and everyone was always the same. There is no difference at all. And this is a very necessary realization or recognition, where you see your own reflection in everyone else, and this can create equality and unity. I hope this video was helpful for you, and see you in my next video.